This is Michael Ledeen, and you are watching the Iranian Time Bomb coming to you from PJTV headquarters in Washington, D.C. For 1 minute there, I was going to say PJTV World Headquarters, but I don't think we've quite gotten to that degree of megalomania. Anyway, I'm back after a month and a half in Italy, about which I'll be writing in the next couple of weeks, and trying to adjust to this funny country where everybody speaks English and the pizza is no good. But I wanted to talk to you today about this amazingly funny story that the New York Times ran over the weekend, claiming that Iran and the United States had agreed to one-on-one talks about the Iranian nuclear program. It's impossible to have avoided it. So you've all seen that story or heard about the story and so on. And by the time you see the show, the debate will have happened, and no doubt they're going to talk about it during the foreign policy, national security debate. So I just want to give you a few basic things, because people, of course, don't know anything about this subject. So the New York Times feels it is free to invent anything. And so they do. They invent everything. Right there in the very first paragraph, they tell you that this monumental breakthrough has occurred, and the United States and Iran, for the first time, are going to have one-on-one talks. Well, there have been thousands of U.S.-Iranian one-on-one talks over the years. And these contacts, these talks have been going on ever since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, where we have been sending all kinds of people, diplomats, businessmen, I'm sure opera singers, people like that, all kinds of back channels running off talking to quietly, to representatives of the Iranian regime in various pleasant and unpleasant places around the world. I know this story very well because I was one of those people who was sent off. I was sent by President Reagan. There isn't a single American president, from Jimmy Carter to the present, who has not done this. And so the New York Times effort to portray Obama as having achieved some kind of monumental breakthrough in arranging one-on-one talks is just pure fantasy. And if they didn't make it up, then they should be all sent back to re-education camp and forced to learn something about the history of the relationship between the United States and Iran, because it's no secret that these talks have been going on. They are in all kinds of books by people who've participated in this sad story, whether it's me or whether it's, what's his name, Pollock from Brookings and so forth. I mean, it's just endless conversation. So if Romney wanted to have fun with Obama on the subject, if the Obama people started bragging, well, we're on the verge of a breakthrough where we talk to them, would you talk to them? All Romney would have to say is, well, of course, every president talks to them, and you're just copying George W. Bush, as usual, in your foreign policy. So what's the big deal? Sure, if they want to talk, I'll talk. We'll talk. What harm is that? The point is that there is nothing new, and the only new thing, even if the story is true, and note that both the White House and the Iranians have denied it, even if the story were true, the only really news in there would be that the talks wouldn't be secret anymore. They would be sort of out in the open. People would talk about them. But the New York Times does not want to tell you that there have been thousands of such talks in the past. Why? Because then the obvious question becomes, well, if we've talked to them thousands of times over more than 30 years, and obviously nothing good has come of it, why should anybody think that still more talks are going to accomplish anything? I mean, what's the point? There is no there, after all. So there is the New York Times non-story, and a bit of education for people who are interested in the history of these relations. So what is going on? Actually, I believe Obama has put himself in a very dangerous position with regard to the Iranians, because they are now in a position to cause him untold embarrassment in the last days of the election campaign. I mean, I do not believe, I mean, a lot of people have been saying, well, he's going to announce some kind of diplomatic breakthrough because they're going to have talks later on, or they have had talks recently, or they are talking at this very moment. But I don't think a big announcement from the White House, large font, bright red letters, and an exclamation point at the end of a sentence saying, hey, we're talking to the Iranians, is going to excite the American electorate. I don't think Iran has much of a constituency. And I don't think the idea that the administration, instead of doing something serious in the Middle East, whether it's Libya, Syria, Iran, Jordan now, and so forth, is bragging about its great breakthrough where they're finally going to sit down and talk to the Iranians and everyone will know it instead of nobody knowing it. I don't think it's going to get them very far. So that's the real story, and you've heard it here on the Iranian Time Bomb from PJTV headquarters here in Washington, D.C. This is Michael Ledeen.